Right. Make sure the YouTube. All right, we are good. Cool. All right, we're good. All right. Let me double check my chat here for a second. Make sure my chat gets the right one. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you this story. So I found a listing today on eBay, and it was for let me make sure that I don't have it. And there's a reason for this, because I actually did reach out to click that one out. Actually did reach out to the seller for this particular one. And it was a 1992 D, okay, DDO, DDR, and wide AM. So as you can kind of gather, like it's not going to be a DDO and it's not going to be DDR. But the fact that it's talking about a wide AM. So I sent a message to the seller, and I said, I'll even read it to you so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. I said, hello, the wide AM for the 1992 and 92 Denver is the intended design for the Lincoln set for that year. The rare one is the close AM. The wide AM rarities are for the 1998, 1999, and 2000 Lincoln cents struck at Philadelphia. The coin that you have in this listing is a common Lincoln set. I'm not coming across as abrasive. I'm not coming across as like you're a big fat scammer, scammy. More to the sense of kind of what we talked about last time is that like it's the right idea, just misinformed.
Right.
So, and I did get a response back from this particular person, and they said, "Thank you. I will change the ad." That makes me feel a little bit better, except for it doesn't, because they have a common 1992 Denver Lincoln set. Are they just going to take out the wide AM part and leave the rest of it? That's what I think is going to happen. But it just goes to reinforce that I think that a lot of these listings are probably misinformation and not intentional misleading. But I could be wrong. What's up, Zephiel? I don't know. They actually did end that particular listing, stating that there was an error in the listing. So it sounds like that they did at least end that one. And I absolutely have no hope, because I didn't look at his other coins. Mm-hmm. And he has 42 listings that are absolutely terrible. So we'll save that one off to the side, and we'll just go listing by listing and just annihilate this guy.
Well, kind of like we could do a whole show just on this one seller.
Here's another one that I sent out, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13 messages to sellers today, just to try to provide some education, I guess, provide some awareness. Because like, you know, what I've talked about in many of my shows and what I've talked about for, I mean, pretty much as long as I've been on YouTube in the coin space, is that like education and awareness for coins, for numismatics. Like the more information that channels can put out there, the more that people are going to hear the good information, the right information. So that's why I always stress, like, you know, if you're gonna put out videos, like put out good videos, put out actual information. You could put out opinions if you want, but in terms of coins, in terms of eBay listings, in terms of errors, like the whole point of this is just to bring awareness to the public, to the to the buyers for on eBay, to make sure that they don't buy coins that are not actually what the sellers are unintentionally or intentionally listing them as. So,
yeah. And you got to understand, we're not doing this to call out sellers. We're doing this for educational purposes, to get the coin community and further coin community members, people thinking about collecting coins, people just looking into it, to get the information out there so they don't get scammed, ripped off, because they're taking the title for what the coin is at. So the educational purposes is, it could be a long, tedious process depending on how deep you go into it. But just having the basic knowledge on some stuff, and maybe a couple websites for a reference to kind of look at things. So, I mean, we could probably get online and do a 4-day live stream, and we could just call out sellers all day long, but that's not our intention. But
so I'm gonna throw a couple things in here. Blues, will you do me a favor? Will you drop in some of the links for Ida Vista, Double Die, Air Ref, those into the chat? And then while he's working on that, some things that I want to bring up, like I'm just gonna throw this out there to any other coin numismatic YouTube channels. If anyone wants to collaborate on a live stream weekend, back in the day we had a coin seminar weekend where it was like scheduled live streams of numismatics. If anybody wants to work together to set one of those up, I am absolutely down for it. And it could be anything, even if it was just, hey, you want to talk for half an hour or an hour about Morgan dollars. You want to talk about, you know, your specific niche, or if you want to go over reasons why you started collecting, like all of those things. Yes, Victor. Ken Peavy, the late professor, was the one that started the coin seminar weekend, and there's so many things that were really interesting about the coin seminar weekends, is that there was a lot of information, and it was like basically 2 days, even 3 days sometimes, where it was a lot of numismatic information, a lot of learning, and you could build out entire playlists of videos from those coin seminars. And hey, Hidden, how you doing, man? So I would love to do another coin seminar. If there's any other numismatic channels that want to do it, hit me up, send me an email, and let's do it, because it could really be about anything. You don't have to show your face. You know, you could just have your camera down and things. That's how I started. So if anybody's out there and wants to do it, let's do it. So some of the links that I will talk about that Blues put in the chat. So the first one is Variety Vista. Variety Vista is one of the core bookmarks that I know both Blues and I use, and that is reference to known listings for doubled dies. And Variety Vista has a pretty good set of listings from all the way from Lincoln Cents, Sweet Cents, the Lincoln Memorials, all the way up through I'm pretty sure at least goes to Kennedy $50, Franklin $50. So there's a huge range of listings in there that are really great for when you are looking for a coin and you're trying to determine, hey, is this actually a doubled die? Well, that doubled die will have specific markers, and that's where you go to list to reference those markers to see which one that you have. Errorref. So errorref.com is one of the ones that I always encourage somebody who wants to understand errors and how they occur and what's out there. I spent many weeks, probably multiple weeks, going through Errorref about each error type and the pictures that they have, and really kind of studying so that I could understand these things more. So when I come across these coins in the wild, I know what they are. But more importantly for me is I know how they occur. Excuse me. The third one is PCGS photo grade. So I really like the PCGS website, the photo grade, because it gives you a good reference for scale. If you have a coin and you want to start grading, which is an entire skill by itself, and it's completely subjective. I'm going to throw that out for preface. But you can at least go through the pictures and look at the details on that coin for, how kind of wear that it has, what wears first, what are the high points, so that you can actually give yourself an estimate of as far as what that coin might be in grade in comparison. Because that has a lot of importance on, hey, if I know that this coin that I have, and I think it's going to grade out at maybe an XF40. Well, there's several 100,000 of those in XF40, and it's just a really common. It's not going to be worth any money putting into to try to conserve or try to get that coin graded. Now, if you have something that is a little bit higher end, and the higher end is really subjective again to the person, but it could be, hey, I have a 1955 triple lead reverse Jefferson nickel. Well, that could be $100 to $120 coin. That to me carries a little bit more weight on overall condition, on getting something like that graded for what it is. So, got your 2 cents on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I'm looking at websites, and the chat distracted me, and I can't do 2 things at once.
Okay, so Variety Vista, Errorref, photo grade. There's also a couple of other ones, and there's Wexler's, which is doubleddie.com.
I got those.
That's another one. There's also Copper Coins, Mr. Chuck Daughtry. But there is plenty of resources online for known doubled dies and known examples to identify really anything. So for anybody that wants to spend a little bit of time into really looking at the coins that they have, there's plenty of resources that are out there that you could correctly identify and attribute the coins that you have. So on some of these, there shouldn't be any excuse because there's plenty of online references. So,
yep. Yeah, CJ and I, we like both the online references and our books, and that's all reference material right across there. And CJ's shelf is just as ugly as mine.
yeah. I got that one back there. Then I got this one over here right next to my desks. It's all kinds of books.
Webbing? That'd be error ref, wouldn't it?
But webbing isn't necessarily an error. So it is part of the minting process. So after the flat sheet of metal is run through the machine and the blanks are punched out, what's left is called the webbing. So in case you were wondering what webbing is, if you are ever able to obtain webbing from any denomination, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I think it's so cool to have something like that you can literally take this leftover piece of the sheet metal that the coins are punched out of, and to line it up next to the denomination and say this coin came from a sheet, and this would have been the metal that was around where that got punched out. So I dig it. So webbing, that's webbing. Nickel webbing is the coolest. I would agree, David. Absolutely. I do have some webbing. It's semi-buried right now, but I do have webbing, and it's just one of those things that it adds so much insight into the minting process as a whole that it's something else. It's just, I don't know. I think for me, why it's so interesting is because it is not something that you normally see from the minting process. Like we see the coins, we see what happens to coins as they go through the minting process, all the errors as far as strikes and like delaminations, like all this stuff. But the webbing is the stuff that's left over from the very first part of the process. You want gold webbing? I don't know if they even kept any of the gold webbing, because they would have remelted that to make more coins. Where's your card? There you go. So is that nickel webbing? What is that?
I think it's dime.
Okay. So blues had held up what looks like a bow tie shape, and basically on either side of that was where the coins and their original and the blanks were cut out of the metal sheet.
Let me see. Yeah, I think this is dime.
I've got nickel, but it's buried.
Yeah. Yep. This will be dime. I need 3 hands.
Just tape it.
So you got the webbing.
There you go.
You made it big.
Yeah, there you go. So you can see how that dime fits right into that space. So very nice. So where would you find webbing? You know, that is an excellent question, and I think some of it is going to be sold directly by the mint. But I mean, that's a very good question. I mean, there could be a lot of different ways. If it was, I would think theoretically, I'm the honest answer is I don't know. You wouldn't find it in a box or anything like that. You might find it in a bag, in one of the big Fed bags. But if it was sold by the mint as basically like a novelty piece, or if it was from a scrap bin that was shipped out to be recycled, and it was taken at that point and then sold on the open market, that's where I would generally think that's where it would come from. Victor, I don't think in a pocket, because the mint has very, very strict standards for like metal detectors and stuff, so people aren't leaving the facilities with coins. What you got? There you go. So you got a quarter planchet with webbing.
That's a cool piece right there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because it comes with the Type 2 planchet and a piece of the webbing.
So around
that's a cool piece.
Yeah, I agree. So they are out there. Yeah, that's what I got.
Maybe your local coin shops will have it.
Coin shops might have it, yeah. What's the biggest? Both you and I have been to a couple of coin shows. I don't recall specifically seeing any webbing. Have you seen any webbing at coin shows?
I've seen bits and pieces of it before at my local,
but not like big chunks, right?
No, just pieces like I showed. Maybe one's a little bit bigger. One of the local dealers, I got one of those traveling shows. It comes to my area every 3 months, and then it's in another town next month, but they're always 2 or 3 hours away from me. There was one dealer, he was an error and variety guy out of Kansas that used to come up to these shows. And he had a real nice piece of webbing, but it was for display. But he was error variety. He pretty smart. Yeah, it's a beautiful stuff too.
Yeah, and so coin shows you can check online. Rhonda says Joe Durbin has sold some in the past, and I'm sure that's happened before. So bottom of trailers, that could be.
That's the wrong type of webbing. That's spider webbing, and we don't want to mess with that. Of course, when you get on Error Ref and you put the keyword webbing in there and you spell wedding, it doesn't bring anything up.
All right. So I'm going to pop up the first one.
First victim?
First victim for tonight. So we have 1969D penny, double die, no FG initials. I'm sorry, double die mint mark, no FG initials, floating roof. So we did talk about the floating roof on the last show that we did, where floating roof was initially classified as a variety, but and was actually attributed, but then they stopped doing those attributions because it's just a it's just a, what's the word I'm looking for, over abraded die. So it's just an over abraded die which had removed some of the design elements, and so they stopped attributing them because it's not actually a die variety. It's just a overused die. Very similar to the poor man's double die of the 1955, where it's just really heavy die deterioration. That's all it is. So what I wanted to talk about specifically, so they have front, back, and then they have this picture, is I wanted to talk specifically about double die mint mark. And I am kind of understanding what this particular seller might have meant, is they probably meant repunched mint mark instead of double die mint mark. So we're going to kind of walk through the die making process. So during these years, the coins had the Philadelphia were making the base dies, so it would have the date already in it, and it would not have a mint mark. Philadelphia would use some of them, and then the other dies were sent to San Francisco and Denver. Those other facilities, like Denver, would then take these dies that just had the date on them and then hand strike their mint mark into the face of the die. So a doubled die is not it can't affect just one aspect. That's not how doubled dies work. So how a doubled die works is that you have a hub and a die. Okay. The hub is used to make the working die. So the hub has an opposite image of the die. So basically, the face of a hub would be kind of what you would see on the coin. Rhonda, it was actually 1989 that they stopped the mint marks. So if you have so how they make these dies is they heat up they heat up this die, and then they press the hub into it, which creates the design. Now, what they did is that they up until 1996 they used a double squeeze method. The double squeeze method was they would press it once, they would heat it back up, and they would press it a second time. If on that second pressing, if the dies weren't exactly aligned on how they were before, if they were rotated a little bit or anything, that's how you get a doubled die. That is the creation of a doubled die. And then they take the die and then put that into the coin press. So every single coin that was struck with that die has that doubled image. So that's how double dies are made. So because the die had the mint mark in it before the actual working die was made, the theory of having a doubled die mint mark is impossible, because it would be affecting every part of the image, not just one. So I understand what they're getting with this, is that the actual term would be a repunched mint mark. However, looking at this picture, you can clearly see that this has surface marks, and this is just damage to the coin. So this is not anything. So this is and this is like, there's even lines right here. So I wouldn't even call it a floating roof. So this to me would be face value. Don't get scammed by it. It's worth a cent. There was a question. Victor says, I have a guy that buys any abraded die floating roof from 1969 S70S for $10 a coin in Ankh. So Victor, I will tell you this. If he wants to purchase them from you at a price, that's entirely up to you. However, it is not a current attribution by any third-party grading companies. So if that is something that he wants to collect, by all means, that is entirely up to him. Just make sure that that if you are selling them, I would say be honest about it, and and provide the education that, hey, it's not a, it was an attribution at one time, but is not currently, and it's not currently seen as an attribution. But if he wants to collect them for what they are, then go for it. Nothing wrong with that. Because it becomes up to the buyer to have the understanding of, hey, I know what I'm purchasing, and not as a seller you trying to say, hey, this is one thing, but it's actually not. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I kind of feel like I want to sell all mine to Victor for $3 a coin, then he could turn around and sell them for $10 and we both win.
I'm just saying, if you all want to work on something offline, again, everybody can win. I'm just saying.
I ain't saying it's right, but it's a win.
All right. Next victim. Okay. This has been talked about and it needs to be talked about again. And I'm gonna be real specific, because this is one of those things that just kind of gets me worked up, because it's somebody who took information and extruded it to something that it's not, and then it becomes a whole thing by itself. So this is the InCod We Trust. They're calling it a misprint. So as a very hardline numismatic, coins are not printed, they are struck. If you want to talk about printing, you need to go to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, because they do these. They do these. These could be misprinted. I know it's semantics, it's words, but it is what it is. So specifically right here, it is this style in which the font has this letter, but very clearly you can see that there is a part that goes up and a little part that goes down. That in most languages is the letter G, not C. So the fact that I found more than 40 listings and I stopped looking of InCod, as in the fish, this is wrong, okay? It was a big thing to start off with, and it was hyped up for I don't know why. But even the U.S. Mint, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure the numismatic or the U.S. Mint or something. I remember seeing something somewhere that talked about that it is the letter G, it's not the letter C, and it's not InCod. So, Stop it. This is very clearly a G. Anybody can read that it's a G, and anyone who is selling this coin, common coin, as in COD, scam.
Is next week's listing for this show going to be the Sesame Street of coins?
I mean, it could be.
because we got to talk about letters and numbers now.
You know what? I'm down for it. Let's do it. All right, you got one?
I got one.
All right, send it.
All right, so I was searching 2-cent pieces earlier.
Ooh, I already don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. There's problems.
There's so many things I don't like that about that just immediately.
There's all kinds of problems with this.
All right.
So it's a very complete 1966 2-cent piece, some red, BU++. All right. Seller is claiming he has 5 of these available in one or both of those grades.
Can I talk about one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Plus means nothing. Plus the only thing that plus would mean is if you have like a PCGS that you can get an MS67 plus or whatever. But the plus means nothing. It has, and especially on something like a BU, like BU is a general range. BU is brilliant uncirculated. Brilliant uncirculated has a range from roughly MS62 to MS65. That's generally MS62 to MS64. That's basically the range that BU would land under. So BU++ would make this like an MS67 in technicality, but also it's like, then call it high MS. BU++ means nothing. It's you can have a plus or a plus, which still means nothing, but it has to be assigned to a grade, not a generalized term. Okay,
right.
Off my soapbox. Continue.
Okay. So you got 5 available, saying in red or G, BU++. I always go down and I look at descriptions. There's nothing. Same information as the title. This all looks correct. Then I noticed this.
Oh.
And then I got looking at the coin. See all of those little tiny holes all the way around it? That is all casting. That's
it's an okay casting. What does the obverse look like?
It ain't no better.
Oh, it's worse.
It's actually worse. But all of that all those little marks, that's all casting marks. The details around the edges and everything are not sharp.
So let's talk about mintage.
There's just a lot wrong with it.
So mintage for the 1866 is just over 3 million. And if you're looking at an MS60, looking at the Red Book, an MS60, according to the Red Book, is in the ballpark of $150. So you have something that should be $150 ish, and they're selling it for $30. Like, scam.
Okay, so let's see. $2 AU. He's doing what? What date is that?
1866.
Okay, so yeah, 1866 brown AU 58's 132.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get no pricing for any of it until you get them at 60 for red.
Yeah.
So there is scam coin. I honestly believe the seller knows what he's doing because he's got 5 of them available at that.
Well, and the thing that we all know, and we hit on last show, is you will have these accounts that are created, and they have 1 or 2 coins. They have 0 feedback, and they're all out of China. They're Chinese fake, counterfeit, copy, casted coins, and it's an absolute scam because that is not an 1866. It's in the shape of one, but is it a genuine? Absolutely not. There's no chance on the planet that's a genuine.
Makes my heart hurt sometimes.
Dude, it does. I'm like, that's a good looking coin, and then I click on it. I'm like, nope. That's a nope. 1996 reverse doubling error on Lincoln's that almost uncirculated. I would say the almost uncirculated is probably a decent description of this coin. And then we look at this. So there's a reason why that I brought this one up is so as somebody who is looking at coins, what would be the first thing that you would recognize when looking at all of the red arrows?
Oh, it's MD.
MD. And what makes you say MD?
It's just mechanical doubling. I mean, all the fields are all going in the same direction.
Okay.
So if you look at the rest of the coin, the top of it might show a little bit of it.
Right there.
Yep. See, in 96, off the top of my head, I don't think there is a the DDR in the 96 would be Lincoln, wouldn't it?
Generally, yeah. But the reason why I brought this one up is flat shelf like. They're all going in the same direction, but the biggest thing about, especially on other like coins like this, one, find another coin and look at it and see what it compares to. The other thing is that mechanical doubling, like we talked about on the last show, is mechanical doubling happens when a coin is struck and the die like bounces off the face, and basically flat and is moved a little bit or rotated or whatever, and so that the die comes down and flattens part of the raised design that it just struck. That's how you get mechanical doubling. And the number one thing that you can tell from mechanical doubling is it will always reduce the overall size of the device. So if you look at the outside of this device with the extra bits, like it has the full shape. it's not adding out into the field at all. It is in the original footprint of the device. So the fact that this is dropping, this is cutting in to the shape of the design, this is mechanical doubling. So that's one of the things to look out for mechanical doubling. If mechanical doubling will always reduce the size of relief devices on coins. You got no?
I just got heartburn looking at these listings.
I mean, heartburn is not what I would describe.
Let's go with this one.
Okay, we got a 1912 V-nickel. Okay. So what do you got on the 1912 V-nickel?
Hold on a minute. All right, so the 1912S, 238,000 of them were produced.
Okay.
This particular seller owns 10 of them, owns more than 10 of them. Pretty extraordinary all by itself. $35.99, way under price. A good 4 should be above $90. I didn't see, where is he located? Okay, well, there's one in the United States. Zero feedback, 50% pause. How does that work out?
Because out of X number of positives, they have half of them negative. So they already have less than 100% positive, which is another red flag.
Should I open that up, see what it says?
Once you do the back picture. Ooh,
Yeah,
I don't like that surface.
No, that just looks like all
Casting marks.
It just looks all casting marks.
So on the V-nickels, the Liberty heads, the only coins that have mint marks are going to be the 1912 and the 1912D and the 1912S. And the mint marks are located. I mean, this is the right location for the mint mark. But I don't like the mint mark. I don't like how that mint mark looks. I don't think that is an accurate mint mark.
Yeah, I didn't do the research to see if the mint mark was correct on it. Yeah, just pitted real bad. You see it on front and back.
Ooh. Yeah, so the pitted appearance. Now that could I'm gonna throw a plausible aspect. There are some dies that have been identified of having pitted surfaces. Now, those dies, there's only a few of them, and most of them are in the Morgan dollars. So to have a pitted surface coin on this, especially this is a key date, and all of these red flags of the pitted surface front and back, dies aren't usually pitted on both sides. And the fact that it is the key date of the V-nickel, the key date. It is the lowest mintage of the entire Liberty Head V-nickel series, and they just have a pile of them. Like, that's a whole bunch of red flags, and I would say that would be an absolute scam.
I'm looking up something here real quick here, because something I noticed. Look at the B in Liberty.
It's funky.
Yeah, that's really, really funky looking right there. So
Victor says, I tell new people all the time, damage or die deterioration, and they mostly don't ever come back to the coin club. Victor, that is unfortunately, that's a real thing. Because, and here's why I stress that, is because it happens on online forums, is because there is not enough educational videos out there explaining and showing the things. There are 100 to 1 shows out there where somebody has this coin that they found in their pocket, just like this one, and it says, if you find this coin in your pocket, you're going to be rich and you're going to be a millionaire. But don't actually describe the coin in its entirety. Why is a 1955 double die, like, what is it, and why is it worth the money that they claim it to be? And yeah, they just see it online and it could be worth $500. Well, I mean, that's where it goes into, like, it could be, but again, that goes back to, there's so many videos, and I'll throw out channels that put out videos that say, if you find this coin, it's worth this amount, but don't actually do a very good job of specifying, hey, in order for it to meet this amount, it needs to have this 7 levels of criteria to fit that coin. Yeah, that's a shame. Stand by.
Huh.
Okay, I'm gonna throw. Where's my discussion? Actually, I'm gonna pull this one. I wish the picture was a little bit better. But I actually think this is legitimate. So this one is claiming a 1965 quarter, detached lamination error. And here's reasons why that I think it's legit. So this aspect right now, the explanation, this is what Blues and I do when we are looking at coins all of the time, because we have almost always operated under Ken PV's assumption that assume it's damage, explain otherwise, and you'll be right 99.9% of the time. So here's my explanation on why I think this is a legitimate error coin. So number one, there is a clear color differentiation between the left side and the right side. And specifically, if this was a detached lamination or a piece of cladding that broke off or fell off, is that the rest of the coin details, they're very muted, they're very weak, which would be accurate because that upper clad layer would have the original sharp design. So, and we know that the quarter is a copper nickel coin. So having the copper showing up underneath would be aligned with a detached cladding. Thoughts?
Can you make the picture bigger?
I mean, I could try.
Well, I'm just looking at the line.
Okay.
I have questions about the line.
What's the question about the line?
If it's detached lamination, why is it almost straight up and down?
So I don't think that it's specifically lamination. I think it's a failure in the cladding, and that's where it broke.
Yeah, but straight up and down?
I mean, it's not. It comes out here, it jogs over
there's
here,
little jaggeds and stuff like
right
that.
here, jumps out over here, and comes back down here. So I mean, it's not perfectly straight. Now, could this be like somebody like cut into this and then ripped it off? Absolutely. Yeah, I wish there was a better picture of the coin overall. But
I'd like to see a picture of the rim too.
I would too, but you can see the rim on this back picture, and you can see it here, and it stops right here. So I do like the that the design is very muted. That would be aligned with, you know, a missing part of the cladding. Now, if it was, you know, done intentionally or otherwise, but I do think that this is a legitimate example of this is a coin that is missing part of the cladding.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but that line made me kind of a little skeptical about some stuff. Not saying I'm right, not saying seller's wrong or vice versa. It's just one of those things that just made me go, huh. All right, let me dissect this a little bit more to figure out if that.
So here is a missing clad layer, partial after strike, and we'll see if what you think on this. So this is error ref.
See, error ref's wrong too.
So missing clad layer, partial after strike. So right there. So how it's more muted, it's not as strong. Obviously, this is on a proof, but I don't know, man. Like, I think now to what they're saying, Zephiel is saying in the chat, $75, $76. Yeah, I think for me it might be a little bit high, but I don't think that it negates the aspect that I think that's what it is. So except for Zephiel, the other side of the coin, the back side of the coin has no marks on it. So you wouldn't be able to bend the whole coin, because then you're affecting the rim on both sides, and you would show.
Right.
Having this picture right here be a pretty good match to what this would look like with a full rim and no distortion on the rim, because you got to say, so it's going to be on this side right here. So there's no distortion in the rim over here. So now having, you know, that being said, if there was, you know, some kind of mark on the top of this and somebody ripped it off, potentially it could be. However, I still think that goes back to, I think that it is a pretty good example of what a missing clad layer might look like if you were to find one in the wild.
All right. See, when in doubt, always go to Ahrefs, do a quick search, learn about it a little bit more, and get educated.
All right, ready for the next one?
I got one.
Cool.
Oh. I actually got one that I would consider to be a
Legitimate?
steal.
Okay. Watch it be a steel set.
So, seller's got a 1913 Buffalo, nickel, 5 cent,
Okay.
$2.99 with free shipping, which is going to be $1 because we've all shipped out coins and it's 87 cents or something like that. So, but it's $1. But then I went to the back of the coin.
Oh, that's type 1.
That's a type 1. In that condition, that's a $10 to $14 coin.
So type 1 versus type 2.
Type 1, raised ground.
Okay.
When they first produced them, they didn't realize the flaw that was with that particular die with the coins. But with the raised ground, that area would rub off and it would just be flat, shiny, smooth surface. So to fix that problem, they went through and they made a type 2 reverse where everything is recessed a little bit below the rim to prevent the words 5 cents from being rubbed off through this normal wear and tear, pocket change, road rash. Well, they didn't have roads in 1913. They had cobblestone horse tracks.
I mean, they did have roads. So yeah, I mean, like this coin is a little bit dark, so I don't know if there's like verdigris or something that's on it. But exactly what Blues was talking about is that even if you have a Buffalo nickel like this and the date is completely wiped off, if you look at the back and you can see that raised ground, you know it can only be 1. It can only be the 1913, and it's a type 1. And if you have a mint mark that's underneath there, mint. There's the type 1 mint mark. But that's how, like, you already know what year it is, just off of the look of it.
Right. And another thing that I like is the coin does not appear to be cleaned.
Yep.
So he didn't try to clean it and make it look better than it really is. I would rather have one that looks like that in my book than one that has been cleaned, because I want the
authentic
look. I don't want clean coins in my book. So I would call that a steal right there. $2.99, free shipping. You get a 1913 variety 1, great coin. Condition maybe not so desirable, but for the price.
But this is an excellent example of use this as a hole filler. Yes. Spend a couple of bucks, you get a solid 1913 type 1 to fill a hole until you can buy one upgraded down the road.
That is correct. And you can't tell, but don't look like there's no mint mark or nothing down here.
No, it would stand out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, the mint mark on the buffaloes would be between the 5 and the cents, right below it.
Yep.
Right where my cursor is, down in this area. That's where you would find the mint mark on these coins. So, yep, I would call that a steal.
I would too. Good find.
Now let me buy it. No.
Like, I'm gonna X out of this screen so I can buy this one.
Yeah.
This coin is purporting to be a 1980D DDR and DDO shiny, and I specifically brought this one up because this is the first time that I've heard this type of error. Detachable rim error with missing L. So many things. So many things on this coin. Not a DDO, not a DDR. I don't even think that there are any even listings for DDO DDR on the 1980D. I think there might be one, but really there's not. Shiny means absolutely nothing on this coin. Detachable rim. Victor, a dryer coin. I think it is a version of a dryer coin. There's a couple of different versions. So you have one that is that the rims are kind of rolled over, and the overall design is really, really mushy. Like it got dipped in acid or something. Generally, you would see something like that on a Jefferson nickel, but for sake of for reference, we are going to pull up error ref, and we are going to do a search for dryer coin, because I think so. This is generally what is seen as a dryer coin, but that's only one type. For this example, this 1980D, this is an example of this coin was stuck in between things that were moving or spinning, and it has worn away the rim and has worn away the face of this coin. Grinder error, yeah, like kind of. So it's obviously missing some devices like the L and the "In God We Trust" across the top. But the other thing is that look at the discoloration. You have the discoloration of the entire rim, all across his dome, all across his shoulder here, and right down here in the 8, the 0, and the D. So this is just a very, very badly damaged coin, and it is absolutely nothing to do with anything that was described in this listing. So this person has zero feedback. I'm kind of on the fence on this is something that somebody thinks that they have something, because they lack the education to accurately describe what it is. But in the term, so that's one. The second side of this is the price. Finding something like this and putting a price of $2,500 versus $50 or $80, this is scammy. And this is a scam. Someone is trying to scam you out of money, thinking that they have something that they absolutely have no idea what it is, and do not fall for the scam. Total scam. You got another one?
Oh,
If not, I have two conversation pieces.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're gonna have a conversation about this one because I'm curious. Okay, and for those that are in the chat, if you would put your thoughts on this coin, you can talk out loud in the chat about what you think that it is. I generally don't know. I preface blues with I don't know what this is, but this is exactly why that we talk about this and we use our references to figure out, okay, what could it be? What do we see? And how do we explain this? Hey, John Stabler, welcome in. So this is a 1961D. It is saying silver penny. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, is that your camera?
Well, maybe.
Could have just been a hiccup in the stream.
Yeah. So let's just talk about some of the things that we see. We see a coin. It does appear to be a 1961D. It's got the full Liberty front and back. Rim looks legitimate. So that in itself would be there's the obverse. So let's talk about the claim that it's silver. Well, we all know that the Lincoln set was never made with silver. Now it is silver in color. So I'm gonna kind of leave that one sitting there. Here are some of the things I see. It is discolored. That could mean a couple of things. My first thought is some kind of plating, specifically because we know that these coins were struck in a copper bronze mix. And so the coloration isn't accurate. The other thing that would make me think some kind of plating would be the discoloration and specifically the lines that look like dried up liquid lines.
Like the one coming from the bottom of the G going down through Liberty?
Yeah, like that one there, this one right here, this one right here, this one right here, this one right here.
Is there a picture of the back?
Oh, there is. So you have these lines that are very similar, and to me, this looks like hold on. So there wasn't an Eisenhower dime, but a dime planchet. The problem with the dime planchet is that the dime is going to be smaller, and if you try to strike a penny on a dime planchet, it's going to reduce. There's not going to be enough metal to fill all of the devices, so you're going to have super weak strike across the board. This appears to be a full strike, both front and back and rim. So I would say no to it being a dime planchet. But this is excellent conversation on, what can we theorize that it is, and I think a dime planchet, in terms of identifying the reason for the color, it is a very logical logical thing to do. So reverse, obverse. What do you think?
Okay, so if it was a planchet error, would the dark area match basically front and rear?
Well, the dark area does match, but that has nothing to do with a planchet.
Right, but if it was a annealing problem,
so annealing is an entire solution and is a heating, so you wouldn't have liquid lines on the coin.
okay. Chemical alterations. I think someone said that in chat.
Chemically altered. Victor, I see that's kind of what I'm thinking between plating and chemical alteration. I would, if I was going to specifically, specifically identify something or call it something, I would say yes. I would say yes to chemically altered.
You go to the front of it again. Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Well, it's not it. Oh jeez. Hold on. Hold on one second.
I don't know how to explain it, but I don't like that coin.
It's not about that it needs to be a legitimate error. I don't think it's a legitimate error. I do think that it is either plated or some kind of chemically altered because of the coloration and specifically the way that it's liquid dried marks on the coin that really make me think that this is not a planchet error. This is just it's something that's been altered and therefore is damaged. Victor says left it in easy zest way too long and it dried. Very possibly. I mean, it really could be. And my video's not doing any better. Okay. So there's that one. I thought that was a very, very interesting one because the coloration and all the lines on it made it look suspicious. Okay, I got another one. You ready for this one?
Yep.
Okay. This is open discussion for Blues and I and everybody in the chat. My stream says that there's 5 or 6 people here. So the title of this is U.S. Silver Dime Elliptical Clip Air Blank Planchet. So this is the one side of it. And let me pull up the other side. Sorry, stand by. Okay, that's one side. Here's the other side. And there are so many questions that I have about this one. So I would be very interested to get your take. Victor says split before strike blank. Okay. What would make you say split before strike? Zephiel, so yeah, man, I don't know, man. So, but from the depth of it, it looks like if this was a dime, and again, I don't know about this one. I have a lot of questions and some concerns about this one. That I am not sure that it is a dime planchet. There's a piece of paper that says that it's a dime planchet, but I have some additional concerns. So the roughness, Victor says the roughness of the face. Well, so Victor, this has Ken Potter stamp on it. But this is just a piece of paper with some stuff written on it. The seller is not Ken Potter. So again, like initially, that's what I would assume that it is legit. However, there's no way to tell. There's no way to tell the size of this piece of paper either. So I have no size reference for this piece on how big that actually is. And this kind of goes back to buy the coin, not the holder, because this effectively could be the holder of this coin. And, you know, are you buying the actual, you know, are you buying the actual coin, or are you buying the piece of paper? So I do see a coin. I'm not necessarily seeing an elliptical clip, because that part doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, off the top of my head. I don't know, Blues, if you want to see if you can find a picture of an elliptical clip.
Yeah, I got the error ref up right now.
Do they have a reference picture?
Yeah, but they are the definition. Elliptical clips is one of the most desirable forms of incomplete planchets. The finished coin takes the form of an oval. The coin may be struck within the collar or outside the collar. So if we go here, see share screen.
See, that is an elliptical clip, because the actual coin that's left over is elliptical based. I am not seeing that on this coin.
Right.
Now, again, like this is where, you know, like things are subjective, and like this 100% could be a very, very, very small or thin elliptical clip. So it's not fully round, and just the angle of the picture makes it look complete. But like, I don't understand why the surface on this is so rough. And what this is like, if we'll go under the assumption that it is a dime planchet. It would, well, technically it would be a blank, not a planchet, because it doesn't have an upset rim. So it hasn't even made it into the rim process to be a planchet. So it would be a blank. If there was an elliptical clip, maybe it's on this side. But the other thing is that what is up with the surface though, and why is this so rough? So to be absolutely honest, and again, like, this could very much be absolute legitimate. Very well could be. I'm just saying, my first thoughts on it was, I thought this was a galvanized steel metal electrical box knockout.
I was thinking the same thing. That's a knockout plug.
That was my very first thought, especially when I saw this side of it. I was like, that's a plug. So
Going back up, please.
like, that looks like a knockout plug of how rough the surface is. So, and here's what I'll say. Buy the coin, not the holder, right? There's a lot of information. This absolutely could be legitimate. I don't want this to be construed in any kind of ill manner towards Ken or anyone else. It absolutely could be legitimate, and it would be a great find if it was a legitimate.
Now, see, that photo, the coin looks a little oval.
It looks a little oval. Is like the point is right here.
Right.
Okay. So here's what I would say for me as a buyer of, or a purveyor of such items. Here's what I would like to see. I would like to see calipers or some kind of reference showing that it's dime sized. Because if it was a dime, it should be roughly, what is it, 11, 12 millimeters?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay. So then I would like to see it on a scale, because we know how much it's going to weigh. The sizes can change a little bit when it's being struck, but the overall weight is not going to change, and it should absolutely be within the parameters of what a weight for a dime or a silver dime should weigh. And if I have those two items, actual measurement of size or reference of size and weight, then I would say I would put a probably 90+%, credence to this is actually what this is. But I wanted to bring this one up because this is a very interesting one, because based off of just a few pieces of information, a lot of assumptions could be made out of it.
Mm-hmm. I don't like the idea that he's pointing out Ken Potter in the listing too. If this was sent to him for evaluation and attribution to Ken Potter, and he determined that it is this elliptical clip, there should be a letter, because he provides letters with his letterhead. This is just a piece of paper with typewriting on it.
And a stamp. So I don't really know if this one is going to be legitimate or not. There's really no, the only information that is provided with it is that it was sold by author and coin dealer Ken Potter in the early 1980s, which again very well could be, and it absolutely could be legitimate. I like totally right. Now, as a buyer, here's what I would like to see. Like, support what you are showing. I'm sure I got another one.
Error Red has it as one of the most desirable forms. So, would this be a candidate to send in and get attributed and encased through a grading company?
One of man. So I'll put this as, it depends if that's what you wanted to do. Now, if I had the opportunity and I owned something like that, and I could have the supporting documentation that says that I that it was attributed or identified by Ken Potter, then yes, I would get it. I would get it slabbed for the specific reason that I have the documentation or the heritage of that coin. Now, it wouldn't say that on the holder. It wouldn't say found by Ken Potter. Like, it wouldn't say that. But I would put the slabbed coin and the documentation together, so that if I ever was going to sell it, I would sell it as a collection, right?
Because if it was slabbed, authenticated, granted, people got fake slabs and stuff like that, but it kind of takes a lot of doubt out of your mind if it's really what it is, if it's been authenticated. Yeah, authenticated. Wow, a lot of letters in that word.
I mean, you had it.
I had it, I just couldn't say it. So that would relieve a lot of doubt. But yeah, I'm kind of on the fence if it's real or not, but I would say I would give it a 70%.
I probably would too. I would put it like in a 65-70% range. It's just
Right.
like I would really want those other aspects for me to be 100% on.
Right. And my education knowledge on the elliptical eclipse is not well known throughout the universe, so a lot of it's going to be educational.
Yeah.
I would do a lot of research on something like that first and get second, third opinions from other coin people. And believe me, CJ and I, we know some coin people. We've been doing this long enough. We know coin people.
So Rhonda says, I'm so confused. I didn't think Ken was an authenticator. Wasn't he the one that wanted to figure out how to get water and food to the moon? No, that's Ken Peavy. Ken Potter is somebody who is is very well known in the coin community as being a very well respected attributor for errors and errors and varieties.
Yes. Rhonda, I love you. That's I love that. That's yeah. Peavy wanted to get food and water to the moon. He talked about that a lot. God, I miss that man.
Okay, I'm gonna play a game here. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna use a different camera for a little while.
Okay, I got one that not a steal, but pretty solid deal for what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, reverse proof.
The 2018 S reverse proof.
Oh, I'm listening. You have my attention.
All right.
Okay.
Key date, extremely low mintage. Okay, yeah. 844,000 were minted, less than a million.
Yep.
All right. These were in honor of the 50th anniversary of San Francisco's Mint first production of proof coins, which has historical significance. They were included as a premium in the 2020 Mint proof sets.
No, not this one.
Nope. Sorry, my bad. Reading the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's got him at $7.95 each with free shipping. So we know the shipping is going to be $1. I always just round up to the nearest one. It's 87 cents. But then when you think of, it's probably going to be inside of a 2x2 or what do they call them things?
Flip.
A coin flip, and the work of everything doing it, free shipping. That's pretty solid. So if you ever wanted one, this is a solid deal right here.
Will you put that link into the private chat, please? I'm gonna get one of those later. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Keep that one for later.
Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't classify it as a steal, but that is a very solid deal.
Yeah, that is.
On that.
Especially for a reverse proof, because out of all the Jefferson proof strikes, there are only two. There's only two reverse proofs. There's a 2018 S and a 2020 W. Those are the only reverse proofs for the Jefferson nickels, and that's one of them. So, nice find.
Yeah. That's a beautiful looking coin right there. I already own one of them, so it don't matter.
All right.
I need to take a break.
Okay. So this next one I have so many questions about. So this one, seller is stating that this coin is a no mint mark penny, which we all know is a Lincoln cent that was struck at Philadelphia, because other than 2017, Philadelphia did not use mint marks for the Lincoln cents. They never had any mint marks. The other part is they're claiming it's a multi-struck rotated in collar error, which is a very specific error. And I actually pulled one up on error ref as an example. Give me 1 second here. I actually put it on my desktop. So this is I did not pull this on AirRef. I pulled this up on online. So this would be an example of a doubles multi-struck rotated in color strike. So you can see it's that it was originally struck here, and then it got, flipped around and rotated around, and then it was struck again, which has it in this orientation. So that second strike or subsequent strikes will flatten and mute out the other devices from the previous strike. So you can see that some of the areas on the reverse are actually pretty strong in the way that it has been rotated around. So the issue that I have with this one is that this is what a multi-struck rotated in collar should look like if it was actually multi-struck. So if we go back to the example, which is here, which is right here, and this is a 1999. Like there would be clear lettering somewhere around this coin, if it was double struck, showing the other strikes, and I don't see any other lettering anywhere around this coin that would show that any other strikes even occurred. So as if we look at the back, like there's no example of any other lettering or anything. So there's nothing about this coin that is double struck. This is a plain coin. So this is not a multi-struck rotated in collar. So they want $450 on it, which I think is way too much. Now here's what I'm gonna say. So I'm looking through these pictures, and one thing that I do look at is that right here. See if I can get a better picture of it. So right where my cursor is right here, there's an extra part of a column. And you can see really clear right here. You can see the extra column in here. So this is actually a really good example of a double die reverse for a 1999 Lincoln set. So you can reference this onto Variety Vista, and you can actually identify exactly which one this is based off of how long it is and where it starts. So the double dies, there's a lot for the 90s, 98, 99, 2000 up to like 2003. There's a bunch of them. And I know this because I have two listings for 2000 Denvers that are discoveries that are associated to me. I found two new double die reverses on the 2000 Denver. So I know there's a bunch out there, and you can still find them because I found those in the last 6 years. So this is a great example of a double die reverse on this 99. But going back to the multi-struck in collar, there's no example anywhere on this coin that has any other lettering that would show any other multi-strike. So this one, especially $450, there's nothing about this coin that matches the description. So don't get scammed. This is somebody is very much, I'll say, not well informed on what that actual error is. So this particular one, I did send this person an email and said, hey, the example that you have listing is not actually what it is. What's price on those? For what the double dies, or what specifically does that feel? So the double dies that you can find on the late 90s, early 2000s, like you can find those pretty decently if you're looking for them. Obviously, the more that the coin is doubled, the more that the price is going to be. The overall condition of the coin is going to play a really big part to that. But an average price on kind of basic doubled die coins are going to be, you know, maybe $3 or $4, maybe $10. They're really not that not that heavy as far as price. Like, you're not going to win any lotteries off of it, but they're still really cool to find. All right, 1981, Washington quarter was 65% off center error. What are your thoughts on that one?
This one, oh goodness.
That's the front. That's the back.
I think it's been ran over by 400 heavy equipment trucks.
So
the rims are folded in jagged edges. That is 100% damage. It's a cool coin, don't get me wrong. For people that collect little off the wall, little novelty stuff.
Well, but this is damaged.
Right. And there are people that, there are buyers out there that will look at that and they are buying interesting looking damaged coins knowing that they are damaged. That's just their niche in collecting.
So 65% off center. Okay.
Yeah.
So 65% off center should look like. So I found an example of a 75% off center, and it should look like that.
Yes.
So 65% off centered should be somewhere in the ballpark of this, and providing that this coin still has the full obverse and reverse in its entirety, it is not off-centered at all. This is damaged, and that's all there is to it. In fact, the rims aren't even not as damaged enough to even call it a misaligned die, which is often confused with off-centered. So, very damaged coin, non-off-centered, and that's where like these are some of the listings that I have kind of more issues with, because somebody is calling it an off-centered, and like to even call it an off-centered, you would have to kind of understand or hear or have pictures or seen pictures of a coin that was off-centered. Like, you're not just going to immediately know that it's off-centered. So the person who is calling it off-centered would have to have some kind of knowledge to call it off-centered. So this example is this is not good, because they have a general enough knowledge to call it off-centered and have all of the same ability and capacity to go research it properly, and they did not.
Yeah.
Eat that right over there.
Your camera's still messing with you?
I'm moving some stuff around to see if I can just flop my two, because otherwise my light bar is like right in the middle of it. So we'll just we'll work with this for right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about this one. So again, open discussion. The first three pictures are backwards. Not sure how you get pictures that are backwards, but
Yeah,
you know.
I'm not sure how that works either.
So the seller says that this is a 1994 P. Lincoln sent DDO double strike D and date struck off center. So the first three pictures have the date and have these markings, lots of red arrows, with lots of things. Pictures. I do have a concern about this one. So I don't know if you can see it, but right above the coin, it says 3.1 G. Which, okay. So this is pointing at the rim and saying that it's off center strike. We just kind of talked about that one. And then we have this coin 1994 D Lincoln DDO mint mark penny off center strike 3.1 G grams. So let's would you like to start with the most obvious for this 1994?
Yeah, 3.1 grams is the weight that is designated for the copper pennies 1982 and before. That's when the transition was.
1982 was the transition year.
Yep, that was the transition year. So 1983 and above are going to be copper plated zinc.
Yep.
And
which should weigh
2.6.
2.5, 2.6, yeah.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, 2.6.
2.5, 2.6. It's technically classified as 2.5, but it's the variance between 2.5 and 2.6, which is the zinc core, copper plated, copper shelled of the Zinkins after post 1983.
Right.
1982, 1983. So again, as a potential purchaser, having this example being labeled a 3.1, I would like to see it on an actual scale that shows it at 3.1 grams. Because if that coin weighs 3.1 grams, then you're severely undervalued on this coin.
Yes.
Severely undervalued. Because it would have missed 11 years of cycles of coin production. So off-center strike, again, this is one of those things that I think people generally don't understand, that there is an actual difference between an off-center strike and a misaligned die. So misaligned dies is what you will always find is that the rim is thicker on one side of the coin than the other on one or both of the sides, obverse or reverse. That just means that when the die was installed, it wasn't installed perfectly straight. It was just tilted just a little bit, and that's going to create the smallest bit of variance space, so that when that coin is struck, that metal will be flowed over into that bigger space. That is a misaligned die, and some of these coins, these we're talking about billions of, and each individual die itself can make upwards of 200 to 300,000 coins. Well, if you have one that is installed just a little bit incorrectly, you have the possibility of 200 to 300,000 coins that are made the exact same way. That makes them not rare and not common.
Right.
So, and then these, so what this is right here, these shadows, it's going to be two things, but they're kind of related. What this is that this is going to be die deterioration, because the shadows or the extra lines will be on closest to the rim on whatever device it is. So you can see that it's on this side of the 9, it's on this side of the 9, it's on this side of on the 4, closest to the rim. On the D, it's on the bottom side in the direction of the rim. That's one die deterioration. And the second part of that is going to be a breakdown or splitting of the copper plating, because it's super fine, thin. And what you were seeing is that you are seeing the actual split plating, and the dark part that you're seeing is actually the zinc oxide, as it is exposed to oxygen underneath the copper layer. So that if you see bright red zincans that have silver poking through, what you're actually seeing is that you're actually seeing the zinc core, and that plating has split. So over on error ref, split plating right here. Here's an excellent example where you can see it's in the direction of the rim, and you can see the discoloration of towards the rim there. So specifically, like some of the things that they're calling it is like split plate doubling, could be an example, but what it is that it's split plating. So right there, that's exactly what that is. All right, what do you got?
Ooh. You want to go first on this one?
Ooh.
I don't know where to begin. I know where to begin.
Okay. Tone to proof Jefferson nickel, uncirculated, mint state. So the first thing is okay. It is a Jefferson nickel. There is a strong possibility that it could be a proof based off of the strike characteristics that I'm seeing. Proofs do have some level of toning that happens over time. Although one of my biggest questions is top pop. Because that does not look like a graded coin. So there would be no way to know if that was top pop, and I do not like that fingerprint right on the back. That looks like a big fat fingerprint on the back.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would agree. This is a proof just by the characteristics of it. I would agree there is some type of toning, either natural or artificial, but there's some type of toning.
Which some people like the tone proofs. There are some beautiful blue and purples and yellows out there, 100%.
Right. Uncirculated. Okay. Top pop. No. It said minted in Philadelphia and graded as top pop proof.
And that would be the issue with AI descriptions.
Yep.
Because that is an AI description.
One, that is not graded.
And two, top pop is not a grade.
No. Top pop is basically when people send in coins to be graded, if that is the highest graded coin in existence.
The number one.
Now there could be 100 of them at that grade out of the 950 million of them that they made. So it would, if that is the highest grade that company puts it as, then it would be considered a top pop, because there's no coin graded higher than that for that series.
So the big draw to top pop coins is people have what they're called registry sets. And so these registry sets is that they will collect these graded coins, and they get points for having like the highest graded coin in their collections. And you could have registry sets that are top pop. You could have registry sets that are uniqueness or toned. You could have registry sets that are the lowest grade. So in your pores, basically where almost the entire coin is basically rubbed clean, or rubbed off, like those are pore 1. And there are what are they called? Low balls. So you got the opposite end of the spectrum between low ball and top pop. But especially if you have these top pop coins that are graded at the top end, the number 1 grade for that coin, then like those will command a premium, because people want to get that for their top collection.
Let me see. Yeah, top pop is a term used in the grading population by grading companies. People only referred to as graded coins from the top 3. I'm on some coin. I'm on NGC. Chat little thing here. I just did a search on it. So. But yeah, there's definitely problems with that coin. Everything is pretty legitimate on what he said, except for top pop. AI generated descriptions. God, it just drives me crazy because AI is flawed, something fierce.
Well, so I put in the chat, I don't use AI at all. I would rather be succinct in my description than to have a bunch of extra words in it. And especially like if you go to list something and you use the AI description generator, like once you see one, it will be the same format for every single coin that you will ever see. So if you look through listings, it's the same. It'll talk about the same things on every single description that uses the AI. And that's where it's like, use your description box as a seller to really describe everything about your coin. Put in information about, so one thing that I try to do on all my listings is I put in some basic information about the coin, where it was struck at, and I put mintage numbers. Like, I want somebody who's looking through my listing, and especially if they scroll down and they look at the description, I want them to learn something. So I put in mintage numbers, I put in, whatever, shipping information, returns of information, like whatever information, that should all go in your description as a seller to provide adequate information to your potential seller audience.
Right. I do want to mention something that I forgot. That 1913 Buffalo that I said was a good steal.
Yeah.
One thing, if you do come across listings and you're like, man, that's a really good deal on that coin, look at the seller's other coins.
Solid.
Because there could be 8 more really good deals that he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely true. And we have found those when we are looking through and we're like, hey, I found this really good deal on this coin. And then we start looking through their other coins and we're like, oh, well, I need to get this from him and I need to get this from him. And I need to get this.
And we ended up buying 4 or 5 different coins from this guy because the deal is just so extraordinary. You can't pass it up.
Yeah, solid.
So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That look at the seller's other items, because there's probably going to be a chance that there's going to be other good deals or something he actually might have missed. Ooh, what you got here?
So this is the 1956 P Lincoln Wheat cent, L on rim, BIE error, line through lettering on reverse. So there's a lot going on right there, right? So let's just look at the coin overall. It is a 1956. It was struck in Philadelphia, so that part is accurate. A lot of wear on this coin. This coin has seen some use. This has definitely seen some circulation. So it says L on rim. So this is what they talk about as an L on the rim. And I don't know, like, I'm going to put this out there again. If anybody knows where the L on the rim has been identified as an error, like if you can find the origination of that, I would love to find it, because I keep seeing it on wheat cents and Lincoln cents, and there is no error. There's nothing about the L being close to the rim that is not outside of the normal design work of the coin. So the L on the rim is nothing. They do say that there's a BIE error. Victor says confused with L on ribbon for the Indian head penny. I would normally, like, I mean that's a great idea. I'm not sure it really applies, because the L was specific to the ribbon, but like having the L on the rim on a Lincoln cent on Liberty, like, I don't know. But the BIE error. So the BIE. So what the BIE is that because of the overworking of the dies, so you're going to see a lot of the BIEs in the 50s. So preface to what was going on in the 50s. The 50s, the mint ran these dies literally into the ground until they literally exploded. They did everything to make these dies last as long as possible, and just continued running them into the ground. And you can tell because the strikes get really mushy. There's, the whole 1955 poor man's double die. That's just extreme die deterioration. They ran the dies until they just fell apart. So what you're going to do is, when you have these small elements like these letters, is with the extreme use of these dies striking these coins, is that you're going to have small die chips. And these die chips are going to break, these pieces of the die are going to break off. And since there wasn't metal there to displace the metal on the coin as it's being struck, and it then is filled in with metal from the coin, that's where you get the BIE. Is that you have this separator bar, that's in between, that would normally would create the space between the B and the E, and it gets broken off, it gets chipped off. So you have this extra metal in there that creates what is, what can be kind of construed as the letter I. So that's where you get the BIE. So technically, it's not really an error per se, other than it is a natural process of the mint running the dies into the ground. However, in the sense of errors being something that happens during the minting process, that affects the outcome of the coin, in terms of technicality, technically it's an error. However, it's not really. Now, that does not stop the collectability of this type of things, this type of coin that can be found. I have found tons of BIEs. I have piles of them in my boxes behind me, just because they are something that is cool to find, and you also know what is causing it. So this particular one, so the last part about this is line through lettering on reverse, and the only thing that I could find is this part right up here.
Yeah.
So based on the way that this looks, and the way that it is abraded, is that this is damage. This is damage to the letters on the back of the coin. And you can see, because you have the letters that are more flattened as they're closer to the rim, and you can see how the wear comes across unum, and especially on this right wheat stalk. So this could be a number of things. Could be could be wear and tear as it's being used. Generally, it's generally understood that it comes from coin machines and coin rolling machines. We'll have this line that can be scratched through, because of the counter on the machines, and when it goes through a counter a lot, it can develop these scratches that are in a circle closer to the rim. So now, is that saying that that's what happened to this one? I don't really know. So I would say that the only thing that is, quote, an error on this coin is the BIE. $400 for a BIE, don't do it. This is an absolute ripoff. If you want a BIE, I got a pile of them. I'll sell it to them for $1. If you really want one, because I mean they're really not that hard to find. That and the overall condition of this coin is really weak. If you had a really higher grade coin that was red or red brown, that really had a good strike and not a lot of damage, not a lot of circulation, it could command a higher price. It's not happening with this coin.
Yeah, I don't know where that L on the rim originated from, but it had to come through a short, some TikTok.
No, the L on the rim has been around for a while, like way before we got into coins. So there had to have been something somewhere that was a design variation or something that it was construed that the L in the rim was an error?
Rhonda has an interesting question.
Thoughts on ending the cents? Oh, okay. Rhonda, I hope you're ready for this one. Oh, where do I begin? Well, let's start with this. The ending of the cents should have happened probably closer to 20 years ago. Canada did it in 2012, with 2012 being the last year that they ever produced cents. The US has been underwater on the cent manufacturing costs for decades. I mean, even in the 90s to make a cent, it would still cost more than a cent to make. So like we should have ended the cent in my opinion, maybe 2009 probably would have been the best year to end it, with the bicentennial, and just call it a day after that, after the Lincoln bicentennial. But the US as a whole has really sat on the penny for way too long, because it's really, other than the small change aspect, that for businesses, it is not used for anything.
Right.
Like it is not used in any other types of regular commerce. It just, so what Canada did is that they got rid of the penny in 2012, was last year, and then they had like kind of a rounding system that was like, to the nearest nickel, basically, where we should do the same thing, and we should have done the same thing. There has been talks of looking at different materials, even for the nickel, because the nickel we're even underwater on in terms of costs versus value. The nickel, I think we're up to, we're like 7 or 8 cents for the nickel. So we're in the same ballpark as the nickel. Tax on dollar will go up or down. So, I mean, taxes may play a part in it. The question, though, is going to be, what is going to be the direction that the U.S. government gives the U.S. people and businesses on how to handle the lack of the cent? So, because you got to think, so your entire pricing structure of the 99 cents, well, do you go to flat dollars? Do you go to 5 cent in increments? Do you round up? Do you round down? That 1 cent, do businesses just take a loss on that 1 cent? Or does the consumer take a loss on that 1 cent? Like, there's so many different aspects that's the real question, in my opinion, on if the U.S. government is going to give some kind of recommendations or give directions on how they want businesses to handle, or if they're just going to let businesses figure out. Because if businesses are all doing their own thing, you could go to one business that's still uses pennies, and then go to another one that doesn't use pennies, and there's going to be so many levels of inconsistencies, that it's going to be a whole thing. Now, what I am really curious about on, we'll say that they do a full stop of the cents, is what are they going to do with all of the cents, all of the small cents that are currently in circulation? Are they going to collect them and pull them back and melt them? Or is the U.S. government going to just let them filter out normally through circulation over time? Because that has its own challenges as well. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, personally, I think the cent needs to go away. It's costing way too much to even produce the darn thing. It's my opinion, it's a useless currency. There's there's no collector value in it unless the Philadelphia Mint makes a mistake when producing it, because we know we don't get nothing good from the Denver Mint.
Not usually.
So, yeah, I did see a report where the U.S. Mint did make their last purchase on the planchets.
Yes, that was like July, I think.
Right.
June or July, or earlier this year.
They have ended purchasing the planchets, the blanks, for the penny. Not sure what their plan with it is going to be. Are they keeping those available and they're still going to be doing mint sets where you could get the penny, and they're just going to use what they got in stock to make those? To me, that don't make no sense either, because it's still going to cost them a lot of money just to make that 1 cent for a mint set. Yeah, I say penny, I say cent, I say different things. You don't need to put all in caps to yell at me.
So what Rhonda is saying though is that there is the thought that, okay, so if they stop producing them, then they're no longer going to be in production, and that would make them valuable. And to that, I would say potentially, but that goes back to, it really depends on what the U.S. government says on what to do after they decide, that they're not doing anything more with them. Are they letting them filter out through circulation, or are they going to be recalling them? If they recall all of the small cents, yes, there's probably going to be value associated with those, versus letting them just filter out normally. Now, I think, especially if they do a recall and they are just buying back all of the small cents, I can absolutely see people hoarding the pre-1982s for the copper value, because then you could have basically free game. I mean, you kind of do now. Free game to collect the copper and melt them down for straight copper ingots.
Right. And people are already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's illegal to deface the coin for that. They know it. They don't care.
No,
they're not very smart about it, because they make YouTube videos about it and brag.
That's not true. It's illegal to sell the coin, presenting it as something different from what it is. If you are melting down the coin, you are not turning around and selling that as U.S. currency. That's actually the stipulation.
Okay. So
it's not illegal. It's only illegal if you try to sell it as U.S. currency.
Yeah, I thought kids mentioned that people are hoarding them for the purpose when the government deems them not being made no more, then they have an option to melt them down for the copper value.
I mean, but they're doing them now, so
they're doing it now.
Yeah, it's not stopping anything.
Yeah.
So now you can deface coins, in terms of like physically damaging them, for the sake of learning and education. So a great example of that was in high schools. They usually have some kind of experiment where you nick the edge of a zinc penny and then you put it into a solution that eats away the zinc or dissolves the zinc, which leaves you the very, very thin copper, jacket of what's left. That would be a learning process or an educational process. But the value is still going to be determined by what's going to happen if the government wants to buy back all the coins, or if they're just going to let them diffuse out into circulation over time. That's going to be. I mean, Rhonda, I don't know what to tell you. If they didn't have zinc in your school days, I'm just using that as a newer example. Sorry. All right. She's laughing at me now. All right. 1980 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Nice woody, struck through air, beautiful coin. So this example, we talked about it on the last show. And this is one of those examples where it's the late 70s and early 80s is where you are going to find these coins that have these absolutely straight lines through them. And they are not wood grain. They're not woodies. They have the general sense of being woodies, but your biggest difference with these and the wood and the woodies are going to be earlier. I think some of the latest ones that we've seen is probably in the 40s and the 50s. What I have the understanding for this particular type of coin is basically it's classified as dirty rollers, where the rollers that were used to roll out the material to make the sheets to punch the coins out had some kind of debris or something on the rollers, which made these lines. And the way that you can tell the difference is that, one, again, late 70s, early 80s, and specifically if you look at the lines, they are absolutely straight. There's no variation, where woodies will have true wood grain, tiger stripe, these different colors and like all of this kind of stuff in it. It will have all of those kinds of looks and behaviors versus a true like improper alloy mix. So, and what I think is what's classified as a struck through is going to be this right here. So on the right side of this 1980 is that the zero just got hit. So this is post-bit damage. And the reason why I know it's not struck through anything is because the rim that's right next to it, nor the other numbers that are right next to it, none of those things are affected. And if it was struck through something in that area, it would impede the design everywhere else around the area that it was struck through. So this example, the zero just took a hit, which has moved the metal, folded the metal over. So it's just damage, and it's not an improper alloy mix.
Yeah. There's 1980 is a good year to find a dirty roller.
So it's like I've seen them even into like the 78, 79 range, but usually it's like 79, 80, 81. Like that's kind of the range that I see them in.
Right. Yeah, you'll see most of the listings will be somewhere around those dates. Then I guess the guy came back from his smoke break and cleaned the rollers, and then everything else turned out good. So I don't know.
Trying to see if trying to see if there was specific like they're called roller marks, but if there was anything specific on any of the like error ref or anything that actually said, hey, like this is actually what it is. But basically all the references that I find are on forums and stuff where basically parallel lines, like those are the roller marks. Wish I could have 5% of these two's knowledge and remember it. I can remember what looks are for some, but names. So Rhonda, that's where the references that we posted out earlier, like always have those on bookmarks. Victor, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you stopping in and hanging out with us.
Yep.
But yeah, errorref.com is one of the things where, like, I can't expect everyone, and I don't expect myself or even Blues to remember everything. The important thing is that, hey, you know where to look. Like, that's the biggest thing, because there's no way for anybody to know everything about every single kind of error and how to determine it. The more important thing is that, hey, I think this is odd, and how do I explain this? So that's where I would say, if you can start there and have a level of this could be an error, this could be damage, assume damage, prove otherwise. Well, how do I prove what I'm seeing through the minting process, and what references do I have?
Yeah, one thing I like about with the error ref, because even if you don't know the correct terminology, if you just put in there lines on coins, it's going to bring up a whole bunch of stuff that refers to as lines. Then you just have to go through and just kind of click on it and go, no, that's not what I'm talking about. But when you also do that and you read like the first paragraph, even though it's not obtaining to what you're looking for, you just got a new piece of information about a coin of some type of error. And that's going to ring a bell. Oh, I remember reading about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what it said, but I remember reading something about that. And then you could always bring it back up again on error ref.
Yeah.
Back when I was first learning coins, I got very fortunate, and I didn't get hooked up with a lot of the YouTube people that are giving out misleading information about
inaccurate.
I got hooked up with Ken almost immediately, just by watching his videos, sending him messages, email, and then back and forth, and then it just went from there. So I got very fortunately, I got linked with the right people when I first got into doing coins.
Yeah, then you met that CJ guy.
Yeah. And then I met all the other OG coin people, and it's like, oh my goodness.
So Rhonda had put a question in the chat. What years have large over small or small over large on cents, and why can't any other year be found? So there's only 4 years that have large and small dates. That is going to be your 1960, your 1970, your 1974, and your 1982. So the only one that has had usage of large over small or small over large was the 1960. Specifically because the large and small, in those other years, they were full transitions being used instead of at the same time. So your 1974, they stopped using the 1974 basically large date because the dies wore out. So they created new dies, which gave you a sharper image. Your 1982s, well, they changed the entire configuration of the coin, so there wouldn't be a large over small. The 1970, they used a large and the small, but specifically the small was used on proof sets versus circulation. So those would be the only time that that they were used at the same time, but just in different aspects. Now, the 1960D, they had both small and large on both the circulation and the business strikes. So that was the only one that really had the possibility of being used over the top of each other. And they had more need on the 1960 just because of the usage of the dies. So 1982 had a large date and a small date. But 1960 is the only one that you're going to have large and small being used actively on both circulation and proofs at the same time. The 1982s, you're going to have the large date, and then you're going to have the full change, and then everything is going to step down to the small date. And another reason why they did it is because the design was already mushy on the 1982 as it started to become on the master dies and the master hubs in the early 1980s, and they wanted a much cleaner design. So with the transition between the copper and the zincs, it was much easier on the dies to have a smaller design because then it wouldn't blow out as much. So 1982 small date. So you have 7 varieties that you could find on the 1982s between small date, large date, zinc, and copper.
Is it the 1960 is the only small over large, right?
Correct.
Or large over small?
Yeah.
All the other ones are just design varieties?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people get confused on the 82s because that was a transition year. They went from copper to zinc. They had large dates, small dates. It was a mess.
It was a full transition. They transitioned everything about the set.
Yeah.
So full mess.
Yeah.
All right.
It was a full mess.
We're at just over 2.5 hours. So we're gonna go ahead and call for the night. I want to thank my co-host Blues here for coming on and hanging out with me. Thank you for everybody that was in the chat. If you have questions on coins or anything, you can always send me an email at cjscoincrafts@gmail.com. Obviously, you can always find me here on YouTube. You could throw me a message. Would it ever be possible to do a private stream so you can tell me about coins? Absolutely, Rhonda. Just send me an email. Give me kind of what time frame and what you want to learn, and I can absolutely put some learning information together. Yeah, absolutely. Just send me an email. I'm gonna put my email in the chat here real quick.
I'm gonna block it. You're not supposed to give out your email.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's my channel. I do what I want. But that's gonna be it for us tonight. So if you have any questions, just send me an email, and we'll see you guys next time on what?
Before you wrap it up, if you have an idea that you would like us to entertain for a future show, drop a comment down underneath this video. So we're always looking for ideas for shows coming up, and you might have a pretty good idea that we could run with. So if you have an idea for a future show or something you'd like, drop a comment, drop a like, tell your friends. CJ, I want to give a special thanks. Thank you for having me as a guest on these shows. It's always a lot of fun. So you can finish up now.
Okay. All right. That's it for tonight. We'll see you next time on Bustin' eBay live streams. Scam or steal. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.